Welcome. This is Prajna Sparks Full Moon Sit. I am Lama Yeshe children, and today I invite you to sample what it's like to live from the fullness of who we are. Today is Sakadawa Duchen, the most sacred day of the year in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition. Today we honor the birth of Siddhartha Gautama, his awakening under the Bodhi tree, and his final passing into parinirvana. Birth, awakening, parinirvana. 3 moments of one life held together in a single day, not celebrated separately, honored as a whole. This year, the day falls under a blue moon, the second full moon of May. In so many Buddhist traditions, the moon is an image of awakened mind itself, clear, whole, unstained by the clouds that seem to cover it, reflecting without effort. Tonight, we'll take the moon as a model for integrity. Not integrity as moral performance or perfection, not the exhausting project of proving ourselves good, correct, consistent, or spiritually impressive. Integrity in older and deeper senses of the word, which comes from the Latin integer, meaning whole, untouched, complete, undivided, has the same root as the words integrate, integral, integration. This family of words points toward wholeness, a condition of nothing being left out. Last month, in our full moon sit on self-love, we explored a more panoramic understanding of the fullness of who we are. Not merely this passing mood or particular life story, the self-image, body, biography, this problem or this desire. We looked at the length of who we are, the great continuum of experience across samsara beyond time. We looked at the breadth of who we are, our radical interconnection with all that lives. And we looked at the depth of who we are, the liberating insight of non-self, anatman, and the luminous openness of Buddha nature. Self-love asks us to expand the view of who we are. Integrity asks us to live from that panoramic view. That's the heart of today's practice. Let's take a moment and think, if we're not only this narrow self-story, not just this wound or this role that changes moment to moment, not only our fear, our desire, then how do we meet life? How does it change our life choices? How do we speak, love, work, practice, rest, repair, and begin again? Integrity teaches us how to act from panoramic self-love. In this deeper sense, it's not a rule book or a spiritual report card. It is wholeness becoming livable. The movement by which the fullness of who we are begins to inform the way we inhabit, embody, and act in this moment. Simply put, integrity is wholeness waxing, like the moon growing full in the sky. Of course, when we hear the word integrity, we might immediately jump to thoughts of morality or uptightness. We think of honesty, keeping promises, living according to our values, doing what we said we would do, acting well, even if nobody's looking. These things matter. In Dharma, they matter deeply. Our conduct matters. Our speech matters. Our vows matter. Our thoughts matter. The way we hold and treat other beings matters. The way we use our body, speech, and mind shapes our experience and the experience of the world around us. This is not an argument against integrity as upright, ethical conduct. It's an invitation to look underneath, to go farther than the veneer, how it looks from the outside. Because moral integrity, as important as it is downstream from something more fundamental. What does that mean? Well, consider if we try to behave with integrity from a fragmented view of who we are, we may become rule-bound, rigid, performative or ashamed, compartmentalized. We may try to be good without ever becoming whole. We may try to be consistent by suppressing whatever does not fit this or that version of ourselves that we're trying to maintain for the moment. And we may confuse integrity with self-control or self-image, or the ability to hold ourselves in a pleasing shape. But this deeper integrity informed by Dharma is not about performing a predetermined shape or role or image, however idealized. It's about ceasing to live fragmented as we step towards dynamic wholeness. So this is why the root meaning matters. Integer as whole, complete, undivided. Integrity is not an achievement. It begins with coherence, a way of being in which the pieces of our inner experience are not exiled from ourselves or one from another. Our humanity is included. Our aspirations are included. Our confusion, tenderness, longing, our fear, all included. And of course, our Buddha nature is ever present. Not because all of these operate at the same level. They're all present, included, and embraced. Not because every impulse is wise, but because nothing is ever healed through exile from the field of awareness. The Dharma does not ask us to become a polished spiritual ideal. It asks us to wake up to all that is present. And waking up begins by seeing clearly what is here. That is insight. But we don't stop there. The acting on the insight, that is integrity. So let's begin by asking how much of our suffering comes from living from a partial view. We may take one fragment of experience, a fear or a wound, a role, one desire, one story, and organize our life around it, like the sun around which we revolve. But then other roles, dreams, and stories, edged out to the perimeter, start to call to our attention, and we change gears, one after another, in a perpetual project of patching together pieces of a self-identity that is never quite aligned with our fullness. And we wonder why the result feels unstable. Then we reach for another gear. This is the strange labor of ordinary samsaric life. It isn't always dramatic or even obviously painful. Often it's subtle. We build a version of ourselves around competence, and then vulnerability comes knocking. We construct a me about being kind, and anger arrives. If our vision of ourselves is grounded in independence, loss refuses to let go. If being needed is our thing, exhaustion perks up to tell a different truth. So one fragment after another asks to become the whole. A mood says, I am the truth. A fear says, oh, I cannot do that. A wound says, organize everything around me. A habit says, I'm the one that knows what is safe. Desire whispers, if you follow my story, you will finally be complete. And a role murmurs, this is who you are. One by one, we bend the knee. Each fragment contains some energy, some truth, some charge, some history. So we believe it for a while. We try to structure a coherent life around it. But a fragment can never yield wholeness. It generates fracture and the management of the resultant shards. Now, this doesn't mean that fragments are bad. The Dharma is never asking us to despise our humanness. Feelings are not enemies. Roles are not enemies. Desire is not the enemy. Wounds are not enemies. Stories, not enemies. But none of them is a whole. Fragmentation is what happens when our capacity for integration is not yet accessible enough. When any single fragment becomes the inner monarch, the result is unstable. The kingdom keeps tilting because the gravitational center is elsewhere. Integrity begins when we stop asking this or that fragment to be the whole. A feeling may be real without being sovereign. A wound may need care without being allowed to define the path. And a desire may deserve tenderness and attention without being mistaken for wisdom. Already this is a profound practice. To notice this is present, but it is not the whole, is immense. To feel anger and not identify with it. To feel fear, but not let it write the whole constitution of our life. To feel longing, but not detonate everything around it. To feel confusion and not declare it wisdom. To feel an ache for comfort without turning it into a life raft. And to feel sorrow without making it into a verdict. This is not about suppression or detachment in the cold sense. It is an ample embrace of all our experience. Integrity in this sense is not the perfected result of having resolved all fragmentation. That would be really challenging. It's a growing coherence that waxes as we shift from organizing our life around fragments and begin allowing the fullness of who we are to inform how we act in the next moment and the one after that. When length, breadth, and depth are included, we begin to orient differently. Integrity becomes an inner compass, not rigid rules, not accusations or scolding, or a spiritual surveillance system, a way of sensing what honors the whole as true north. Now, this is a very different question from what do I want to do right now? What's my strongest impulse? It's also different from what should I do to be good? It asks something subtler, more intimate, more demanding. What act includes the most truth? The most of my truth? Not cherry picking the one that is most convenient for the moment. What choice leaves the least of myself behind? What action honors not only my immediate comfort, but my deepest aspiration in harmony? Some funny, strange harmony specific to our heart. What silence is wise without becoming avoidance? And what boundary protects the heart without hardening it? Simply put, integrity is asking us to explore what it would mean to let the fullness of our life breathe through this moment. Integrity is not always tidy. Sometimes living from wholeness means breaking with an image of ourselves. That breaking is also part of the wholeness. It may mean speaking when we would rather be pleasing. And it might mean restraint when our hurt aches for theater. It often means acting when our comfort wants to hide under the blanket. The felt sense is different. When we're patching fragments together, the movement often feels frantic, defensive, or compensatory. It's unsatisfying. We're trying to become enough by adding something, subtracting something, fixing something, controlling something. The subtle message is something is wrong with me. When integrity operates, even difficult choices have a smoother texture. Not necessarily easy, not necessarily pleasant, but likely cleaner, more coherent, less fragmented and divided. A little less of us is left in exile as wholeness is waxing. Just like the moon, which does not become full by rejecting its earlier phases, the crescent, quarter, gibbous, and full moon are all the moon. None is a mistake. The full moon is not ashamed of having moved through these phases. It simply moves towards fullness. In the same way, integrity does not shame the partial places in us. It doesn't despise the frightened place or the desirous one, the place that grieves or is confused. It lets them be included within that whole sky. As we move into the practice, I invite you to recall this is not about trying to become whole or to manufacture an exalted state. We're simply practicing not rejecting any fragment of our experience in the effort to craft a more spiritual version of ourselves around a different fragment. So let's see what happens when we stop organizing around these parts, these fragments, these shards, and touch into the fullness within which they arise. As we go through the meditation, a thought may come, or a feeling, a memory, doubts. Whatever may come, our practice is not to make it disappear. Our practice is to welcome. This too is included. Even as we know, yet it is not the whole. We let the field expand. We allow our inner compass to train itself to the true north of wholeness. And we'll ask gently and honestly, what would it mean to meet this moment from integrity? Let's begin. First, just allow the body to arrive in this place and time, to settle softly with ease, like cotton resting on cotton. There's no need to force stillness or arrange yourself into the shape of a meditation statue. Simply allow the body to be present in itself. Feel the contact beneath you, the support of the ground. The quiet fact that you do not need to hold yourself up entirely by effort. Let the breath be natural, not special breath or improved breath. Just this breath, entering and leaving. Life in its passage through the body, not needing to be managed. Then gently bring your attention to the felt sense of me, the me who is sitting, who's listening, maybe hoping for an experience or wondering whether this will work. Quietly evaluating how the practice is going. No need to judge this me. Just notice it. Is there any fragment of your experience calling for attention right now? Maybe a feeling or a concern, a worry, a desire, a story, a role. Something that says, over here, this is what matters. Organize around me. A little bit louder than the rest. Let it appear gently. No need to search dramatically or dredge anything up. Just notice what's already near the surface. If you like, if it's helpful, you can name it very simply, fear or longing or hope. But that's not necessary. Just sense the small bell of recognition that doesn't need a label. Feel into the experience. This is present. And this is not the whole. This is present. And this is not the whole. Feel into what happens when the fragment is neither rejected nor enthroned. It can be here, within the whole sky, without becoming it. Now let even the inquiry relax. Rest in the open field of awareness. As thoughts arise, let them arise and drift away. Feelings and sounds and sensations arise within the field of awareness. Awareness, spacious and knowing, is not improved by pleasant experiences, damaged by unpleasant experiences, or neglected by neutral ones. Lastly, if it feels accessible to you, let's move into something that can really touch our hearts here and now. Invite one place of remorse to come gently into awareness, not the whole catalog of your life's regrets, not the most overwhelming thing in all its fury. Just one small place where something important in you, in the middle of that overwhelming fury, still feels unfinished, divided, or carried around like a stone you cannot set down. Maybe it's a moment where you wish you'd been more present. Or a word you wish you had spoken differently. A silence that still echoes. a choice that did not include the whole of your heart. And yet, you still follow it. Let it appear lightly without forcing. Notice the urging of mind. Does it want to defend, collapse, explain? Maybe it wants to hide the moment in one pocket while presenting another pocket to the world. Whatever it is, I promise it's very human. Just let it be. Feel into the tender and brave ask of integrity. Instead of seeking how to punish myself or how I numb the discomfort or build a sexier story, what if I included this too in the field of awakening? What if I embraced it and all the colorful parts like a kaleidoscope? What would it be like to meet this actively from the panoramic view of self-love? Let this place of remorse be there, witnessed without becoming your whole identity, felt without becoming a verdict, included without needing to define the whole sky. Wholeheartedness asks for something more intimate. It asks whether the tender part, the ashamed part, the longing part can also be held in this awareness, not acted out or dramatized or enthroned, held and included. And then just ask gently, what tenderness is needed here? What would it mean to meet this from wholeness? what would allow this part of life in without eclipsing all the other parts of this me held in panoramic self-love. As with all meditative inquiry, you don't need to receive a clear verbal answer. The practice may simply lie in learning to consult the whole, or we may get a sense of clarity that takes time to find a shape. It may simply be the practice of pausing before handing our entire kingdom to one frightened minister. The practice of listening for the inner compass beneath the static. Letting all the inquiry dissolve, rest with nothing to solve, nothing to become. Our fullness already present, slowly learning how to live through us. Begin to notice the body again, its weight, the movement of breath, the space around you. Allow awareness to embrace the room you're in. Free the practice to be simple. Whatever you encountered, stillness or distraction, clarity or dullness, all of it belongs to the path when met with awareness. You need not be flawless to practice integrity or wait until every single fragment is quiet. That's the good news. Just as the moon waxes gradually, practice ripens progressively. Integrity blossoms as the myriad parts within us are gathered into coherence. Please join me in dedicating this practice to ourselves and all beings, living amidst the shards of self-identity, even as we yearn for the wholeness of integrity. To those gripped by fear, pained by grief, or led by desire, to those cowed by shame, or weighed down by roles they no longer know how to stop playing. To all of us trying with great sincerity to patch together a self that will finally feel safe enough, loved enough, complete enough. May we discover the fullness that cannot be assembled from fragments. May we embrace the length, the breadth, and the depth of who we are. May we encounter the Dharma in every moment, trusting the inner compass, trained to the true north of wisdom and compassion and unity. May we embody the wholeness that is our true nature of mind. And may this full moon of Sakadawa Duchen, the sacred remembrance of the Buddha's life, strengthen that movement in us. Until we sit together again, please love as best as you can your whole vast, priceless life.